How's it going, guys? So today I'm going to do a Q&A. I feel like I could probably do at least one every month or so. My messages have been piling up, so this is a perfect opportunity. Some of these questions are going to be a bit older. Some of these I've gotten throughout this past week. So I'm going to try to knock out as many as I can here. So the first question is from a vegan who is barely eating, but seemed to have gained some weight, 20 pounds actually. And I would say to this person that this is a very common issue for people who are first transitioning to a plant-based diet. I mean, you really have to look at where you're coming from. We have abused our bodies throughout the years, eating a standard diet and eating lots of animal products and doing all these bad habits. We need to give our body some time to adjust these changes that they're going through. So in the meantime, I would say focus on eating your favorite plant-based foods, focus on participating in your favorite exercises, focus on health. Start building good, healthy lifestyle habits and the results will come. You will eventually lose the weight. This next question is from someone who is asking, can they eat too much potassium? Check this out. This person is saying that they're eating 20,000 milligrams of potassium per day. And just to give you guys a bit of an idea, that is equivalent to either 47 bananas or 22 potatoes. So that is a lot of food, let alone a lot of potassium. So I'd say potassium can be a problem if you have bad kidneys, if you have kidney issues, if you have renal disease. Yes, you need to monitor your potassium. But if you're relatively healthy, you don't have any kidney issues, potassium should not be a worry. Even with this guy, let's say he is training a lot, he's eating a lot, and because of that, he's consuming a lot of potassium that's already inside the food. Even 20,000 milligrams of potassium per day should not really raise a flag, because first of all, that person is just consuming the food that he has to because of his training, assuming that that is what he actually needs to consume. But the reason why it shouldn't be a worry is you shouldn't be looking at it as 20,000 milligrams per day, because your kidneys don't need a whole day to process all that potassium. So definitely don't worry about potassium. Most Americans, I think it's around 98% of Americans, aren't even eating enough potassium. So don't worry about it. If you are worried about it, however, I don't want you to just go and lock yourself in your room. No, I mean, go to your doctor and have your blood checked and see if your potassium levels are at an optimal level. And you can also look at other things in your blood as well that will come through the blood analysis. Oh, look who's here to say hi. Leo. It's my little lion. This floor is killing my ass right now. So this next question is about Gary Taubes. If I've read his book, Why We Get Fat. I know who Gary Taubes is. I've listened to a couple of his lectures on YouTube like a while ago, a couple years ago. I've never read his book, but I've listened to so many low carb lectures, and these low carb advocates talk about why they love to restrict their carbs and all that stuff. So I kind of get the idea of what's behind a low carb diet. One of their main arguments is around insulin, and that is why you should restrict your carbs, because God forbid your insulin levels go up after you consume carbohydrates. It's really ridiculous, because one, consuming carbs and your insulin levels going up is a perfectly normal response. Insulin is supposed to increase in your body after you consume carbohydrates so your cells can use the glucose that's inside your blood. However, if your insulin levels stay up, then you are running into diabetic issues. Now, a lot of insulin has been associated with obesity. Okay, the low carb gurus have this part right, but what they don't have right is they say to avoid carbohydrates because it produces insulin, but they don't tell you about the insulin production from some animal products. In fact, some of these animal products produce more insulin than some of the carbohydrates they demonize. Okay, people aren't getting fat from bananas and potatoes. So I could go way more into this topic. I've done videos covering similar issues and you guys can check out if you like, but I would just focus on looking at the big picture. You know, consider whole plant-based foods and whole carbohydrate sources when you are concerned about insulin production. Should vegan bodybuilders take creatine? Well, I can obviously speak from experience here. So Robert Cheek, who is a very successful vegan bodybuilder, actually recommends vegans who want to build a lot of muscle to take creatine. I've personally talked with Robert at festivals and, you know, talked to him about his diet and what he does to stay massive. And he actually does not consume basically any supplements. He consumes a whole food plant-based diet, much like the Forks Over Knives people recommend. I would definitely agree that these supplements like creatine would help you put more mass and water into your muscles, but I would recommend a whole foods plant-based diet any day and avoid as many supplements as you possibly can. So this person is in the UK and they're thinking of switching their majors to nutrition. What should they do and how should they go about it? I personally don't know any dietitians in the United Kingdom. I would highly recommend talking to one if you can. See if you can set up a meeting with them and kind of talk to them about the process of becoming an RD in the UK. I'm not entirely sure on what the process is like. I know here in the States, you have to get a 4-year degree in dietetics. You have to go through the dietetic internship and pass the national exam to become an RD. There's also a website called the Association of UK Dietitians, and I'm sure they would have way more information on how to become an RD in the UK. So this person also wants to go to school and pursue dietetics, but is worried that they will just waste their money, their time with no job at the end. And I don't blame you. Dietetics is a very competitive field. It's very scary coming out of college with all this debt and you're looking for a job and they're asking for like 40 years of experience. It's ridiculous. So I totally understand how you feel. But the way the market and the economy is today, I think any sort of career choice that you choose is going to have that risk. You just don't know how things are going to be. So it's something to think about, but like they say, no risk, no reward. All right, so we're gonna shift to another passion of mine right now, cycling. So this person is asking, what can I do to climb up hills faster? So when it comes to climbing, it's all about watts per kilo. Okay, in other words, it's about how much power you can put in your pedals and how light you and your bike actually weigh. Okay, these two things are what are going to make you go up a hill faster. Now, of course, making sure you have the proper gearing on your bike is very important. Something that'll let you spin from about 80 to 100 RPMs. You know, everyone's different, but I'd say that range is probably good for most riders, so about 80 to 100 RPMs. If you don't have a cadence sensor or a power meter on your bike, I would just make sure that the largest cog on your cassette is a 28 and your inner chainring is a 34 or a 36. Also, someone else was transitioning from a mountain bike to a road bike and was having the same issue about hill climbing. With mountain bikes, they typically come with gearing that is suited for more spinning, okay? And that's exactly what you need on a climbing bike as well, on a climbing road bike. So just make sure you have the proper gearing on your road bike. That way you can climb as efficiently as you can. So while we're on the subject of gearing for your bike, this person is asking how different group sets vary, and I know there's a ton of them out on the market. So group sets will vary basically by weight and aesthetics. That's basically it. You know, cranks will sometimes be a bit stiffer on the higher end group sets, but you don't really need to focus on that if you're just starting out with cycling. There's also a lot of different brands out there that make group sets. There's Shimano, SRAM, Campagnolo, which are probably the 3 biggest ones. There's definitely more out there. For simplicity, I would recommend Shimano group sets. They're pretty easy to use. They shift pretty smoothly and they don't cost as much as some of the other brands. I really like their 11-speed group sets like 105 Ultegra. They're probably their middle range group sets. I have Dura-Ace Di2 on my S-Works Tarmac, which is the highest group set that you can get on Shimano. And, you know, there's not that big of a difference, okay? I mean, I have a bit of weight savings. Mine is a little bit crisper because it's Dura-Ace and electronic gearing, but it really isn't that big of a difference that you're going to notice when you're first starting out in cycling anyway. And I would say even some of the lower end group sets are now starting to have really nice quality and value to them. And I think the most important thing is in the second part of this question, and this person is asking about gearing. Should they go for a compact crank set, which is a 50-34 chainring, or should they go for the triple, which is a 50-39-30? And I would say that the triple is probably more versatile as you have more choices, but it is going to be slightly heavier. I don't know how important that is to you. I don't think it's that much heavier either. But in my opinion, I would go for the compact over the triple, and here's why. So when you have that 39 inner ring, that second 39 ring, is pretty much useless if you're climbing, because that is what's on a standard chainring, and that is what the professionals use, and really that is just really tough to climb with. You're pretty much just going to be grinding the whole time. But that smallest inner ring, the 30, is probably really nice for making you spin a lot. But I think a 50-34 with a 28 tooth cassette or even a 32 tooth cassette is going to be plenty. I don't think many of you guys are climbing the Alps or the Rocky Mountains, so a compact is probably good, but I wouldn't say not to go for the triple. So my best advice would be just go out there, see if you can test out some of these different chain rings and different gearing options and see what works best for you. That's what I did. I just kept trying different stuff. I used to run the 50-34. Great. It was really nice to be able to spin up the climbs, but when I got to the flats, I just felt like I was running out of gears. I popped a 52-36 on there. I have an 11-28 tooth cassette in the back, and it works perfect, and I can still spin up many climbs. And the last question is regarding knee pain when cycling. Now, this could be a number of things. The most obvious thing that comes to my mind is your bike fit, saddle height in particular. It could just mean that your saddle height is too low, and that you probably need to go up a little bit so your knee has a slight bend to it. You don't want your knee to be fully bent on the, let's say, the 6 o'clock position. So when your crank is fully down, you want your knee to, I don't know how to explain that, but you want it to have a slight bend, right? You don't want your knees to be like this when your crank is all the way in the down position. You want it to have a slight bend. You also don't want it to be locked out either. Sounds confusing, but just head to your local bike shop, see if you can find a really good bike shop, talk to some people there, have them look at you, have them fit you on your bike. Having a good bike fit is so essential, not just for preventing injury and pain, but just overall comfort, and that way you can put more power into your crank and just become a better cyclist. So that's a good bit of questions for today. Keep them coming. If you guys have questions, send them to me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Just tag me at Bananiac and I'll check it out. And if I don't respond, please don't think that I'm ignoring you, but I will try to get to as many of them as I can. If you think you know someone who has any of these questions in mind, please forward them this video, and also give it a like if you found it useful, and subscribe for more videos on Q&As like this, veganism, nutrition, cycling, all kinds of stuff. So stay tuned, and we'll see you guys in the next video.